Hey, you. Welcome to the What Reading Book Podcast, the no boring zone where we get you all excited about books that are worth reading.
On the What Reading podcast, you get some unbiased take on books, juicy scoops of what runs through the minds of your favorite author. You can call us your virtual book connoisseurs that help you filter through the many books out there and let you know the ones worth reading.
On this podcast, we talk about different book genre. We do not discriminate, from fiction to non-fiction, poetry, biographies, memoirs, you name it, so long as it is written by an author of African descent and project our very own authentic African stories. You can count us in. So welcome on board and thank you for tuning in. We hope you enjoyed the show.
I feel like this is a very remarkable day for everyone that goes by a Nigerian name. Our name is one of those things that stand us out as people, and this particular episode is one that is pretty very special for myself, for Seyi, and I hope it's actually resonates with you guys as well. And on that note, we're welcoming you officially once again to another episode of the What Reading Podcast. Have you guys been again? I hope you're having a wonderful, wonderful, restful weekend. And we don't have a guest today. Let's just go right straight to it. It's another episode where we are reviewing a book. But this book, I can assure you, yes, in my best Nigerian accent, that's for my bank. Yes, you would feel it very, very much. And it's one that
It's a book. It's a book that was well. It's a well put together book, and something that sort of tries to celebrate this entity, this geographical entity that sort of binds us together, or this geographical entity that still holds our umbilical cords, like we would say, where most of our umbilical cords are buried, right?
mhm,
So it's a book about Nigeria for those that are associated with Nigeria either by birth or by relation, business, whatever it is. And
affiliation, association, or those that admire the
yeah,
Nigerian culture from TikTok, or those that have stumbled on fufu
exactly.
and
For those that
egusi,
listen to our
like,
Nigerian artists,
or,
for
or
those that
those that only
sing,
want
that
to
sing,
associate with us when
yeah,
it's really cold and when
exactly.
something gory is happening, you hardly hear their voice. Let's not push it for you, but yeah,
For those that want to associate with Tobi and song, that want to associate with
yes,
Ese Brome, and I want to associate with Bonner Boy, and I want to associate with John Obi Mikel, with
Egusi,
Eana Cho, and a
yeah.
long list of names of Nigerians that continue to fly the flag so high. This book is about that geographical entity that has birthed or that has sort of created some form of existence to these names that you all love to mouth. So, Toby, you want to share the title of today's book with listeners?
Oh, absolutely. That would be a delight. Or so the title of the book in focus today, without further ado, is "Of This Our Country," and the book has got
Yeah,
this
of this
very
our country.
beautiful cover that I love so much. I'm the one that would always first of all talk about book covers before going into the contents. Judge me if you like, but I still believe that books tend
And
to
you're
be
not the one that
judged by
draws,
their
and I'm the one
cover.
that draws. But you're the one that always looks at the
Exactly. So what
covers.
are we saying, Oshay? So booking focus
Well, it's
today,
good,
like
it's
I
good, it's
rightly
good.
mentioned, is of this our country. And of this our country is a collection or a compilation of essays by some of the biggest names in Nigerian literary
Yeah,
circle.
most of the acclaimed Nigerian writers.
Yeah, writers that are award winning, prize winners that are making waves internationally. however, are of Nigerian descent. And many of them, I found out, don't even live in Nigeria, perhaps spent most of their childhood only in Nigeria, in different parts of the country. I don't know if the editor intentionally did that anyways, but it helps a great deal to know that they were authors or writers that cut across different parts of Nigeria, and that kind of also pays homage to the diversity of a country such as ours. Shay, do you want to let us in more about the
Mhm.
book?
Yeah, yeah. I think kudos to Oriagbadi Williams and Nancy Adimora, who are the editors of
Yeah,
this particular book. I just feel it's worthy enough to mention the work we must have put into selections
absolutely.
and
Yeah.
just further, yeah, doing the work of um, creating this book. The form that the book has taken is personal essays by these writers, and the content is largely reflections on the Nigeria that they know, shaped by memory
Hmm.
of memories that they've had of Nigeria, or how and where these writers have experienced Nigeria, whether in the country itself or in an aspect of its culture and traditions they found elsewhere in the world. And I must say that many of the writers that delivered essays for this publication, the write-ups were phenomenal. I think that
Absolutely.
what the book did for me is to sometimes take me down memory lane and just help me remember a couple of things I could relate with,
Hmm.
and in some cases just see how far we've come as a country in terms of a lot of the changes that have occurred, a lot of events that we really do not remember, and just generally looking at Nigeria and realizing that while we continue to clamor for things to get better, there's so much that Nigeria has sort of bequeathed to us, and there's
Yeah.
just a lot of work that we have to do to make it a great nation again.
Yeah, I was telling Shay early on how I really hold this particular episode very special to my heart. First, because I feel that the crux of this particular episode is to cause like a paradigm shift for you, our listeners, and even for myself as a reader or as a podcaster, to help me realize pretty much that in spite of the gloom and not too pleasant things happening around us as a nation, we can't choose to fix our gaze on those things that make us special as a people, those things that make
Mm-hmm.
us,
Mm-hmm.
thrive or beautiful as Nigerian. We can choose to bask in our Nigerianness, even if the country or economically and in every sense of the word, it is not what it is supposed to be. I honestly
Yeah.
feel, even as someone that is not in Nigeria right now, that there's still so much that can be done. There's still so much to be desired, but home is still home. It's something that I still long for every once in a while. Not even once in a while. Every single day I miss home. There are things around me that trigger me and are swift reminder of my roots, right? And when I think about those things, I am
Mm-hmm.
sad and happy in equal amounts. And but today, I just want us to focus on the happy side of things. It might seem like a facade, or it might seem unreal, but you might say there's nothing happy about this particular Independence Day. Perhaps it's to many of us, it's like a sad reminder of where we are as a nation and how
Yeah. So
far behind we still are. But I wouldn't want us to linger in that place. I would want us to focus on the good side and see how we can, keep our hope alive and keep us going to attain even better and greater heights for ourselves or as a nation.
Yeah, I think like you said, one of the things that we owe ourselves at the time like this is not to wallow so much in all of the negativity that Nigeria currently seeks to remind us of, and just touch up on many of the happy moments or many of the happy tales that Nigeria also represents, because there's no entity that is entirely negative. Every entity
Yeah.
is more of a potpourri of various emotions, various
I
realities,
love the
various.
word
And
potpourri.
one of the things that struck me and is very very profound in the book was written by Caleb Femi in the part where
Yeah.
he called it section. It's called titled Home History, and I wrote
Mhm.
down something he had said. He said the only Nigeria a Nigerian can be certain of is the one they knew in their own homes. The Nigeria seen through the windows of bedrooms, through the skin of family and friends, through the local landscape that forged their sense of body and spirit, through their languages spoken and felt. Right? What that does is to tell you that for Nigeria means different things to different people.
Yeah.
Oftentimes you realize that in December there are a lot of people that come back home, and there's the dirty December movement. Everybody wants to just go for the next concert in Lagos and just go to the parties, go to the beaches and all of that, and spend foreign currency. And for them, Nigeria is a place of end of year relaxation. So
Yeah.
toil and grind hard abroad, but always remember to come home in December and dirty December. For others, Nigeria is their constant reality, right? And
Yeah.
for those that Nigeria is their constant reality, there are different categories of people. There are those that would say, wow, Nigeria is not as bad as people say. So they still have, even if it is, they still have time to just go out and have fun. For some others, the reality is so overwhelming that all they just want to do is exist in Nigeria and continue to hope for a lot better. So Nigeria means different things to different people. I think I'll just
Yeah.
ask you, Toby, what does Nigeria mean to you? Every time you say the word Nigeria, what does it draw out for you? What does it draw up for you?
I think first, one of the best or fastest reminder or deepest meaning of Nigeria to me as a person is my place of birth, and being an immigrant here in the UK. Literally every single day, I'm reminded of the fact that I do not belong here. I and it reflects in very nuanced ways, like when I'm completing a form online, which I literally have to do at least once every week, and in spite of the fact that I'm legally here, I'm asked about my nationality. So what does Nigeria mean to me? Nigeria is first of all my nationality. It's Nigeria is
Hmm.
a place that I was born into, and oftentimes we do not have control over such. Beyond just being a place of birth, it is also where I spent the formative years of my life as a person. And so, it's what I've literally always known in the last over 2 decades of my life of here on
Okay.
earth. Um, what else does Nigeria mean to me? Nigeria is also that um, country that I'm in a very abusive relationship with. In the words of Abubakar Adam Ibrahim in his essay in the same book in Focus. Um, it's one country that I am most proud to be associated with, but in spite of my pride in it, I get utterly disappointed with every single passing day about the things and the sad reports that I hear about it. It is Nigeria means to me that um, that place or that constituent that has vast
Hmm.
potential but has consistently chosen to not live up to expectation after
I
over
think vast potential
61 years.
is one of the most used synonyms that has described Nigeria for as long as I've known.
Oh, yes.
Vast
I
potential.
know watching documentaries on AIT, Channels Television, NBN back in the days would tell you Nigeria is that land of many natural resources. It is blessed with natural resources. I don't even think people allude to its natural resources anymore as much as they used to back then. And also, again, it's just like you rightly
Yeah,
said, it's
there was not some sort of bright light that the knowledge that there was natural resources. Okay, so one of the things I find interesting about the book is also what Umar Turaki said, where in his essay titled "Father's Land," he had said, "By this age 10, I have joined most adults in the understanding that father's land is a place to aspire to live." And what makes that statement quite profound is in the light of the whole Japa syndrome. Everyone wants to leave Nigeria. I don't know how many years ago it was 10, but it appears that, well, like we all know, it appears that there had always been that drive, or that people looking out for an opportunity to seek greener pastures. I know that at the time
yeah.
was there was that conversation around some guy Andrew checking out, but now it's no longer Andrew that's checking out. It's Andrew Shalewa, it's Andrew Binkbe, Andrew, Kayode. Everybody just heading out. What can you really say about that? Well, given that even you are not here anyways.
Oh well, interesting take, I must admit. But I think it's worth mentioning that the whole Japa movement is not anything new. Like it's always happened since time immemorial that people would always seek greener pastures. And initially, I thought that was something to be worried about. But hey, I came to realize that even in the 80s and the 70s, there were loads and loads of people, right, that kind of like left the country, left Nigeria and are here, for example, in a place like UK. I've met individuals
Hmm.
that are in their 60s and their 70s, and when you
Hmm.
hear their stories, many of them actually sought for a better life in the 1960s, 1970s, right, 1980s, and all of that. And it's not even peculiar to Nigeria only. I stumbled on some interesting statistics from the Home Office where they were mentioning how,
Okay.
there's an increase in the number of people that are immigrating to or migrating to the UK. Not even Nigerians only, Indians. I think the Indians are even competing or even outnumber Nigerians in terms of the numbers.
Yeah, I think they have
And
very
they also
large
mentioned that
diaspora
Nigerians have
community as
even
well.
way more dependents that are coming in. And of course, many of them are coming here through the education route or the student visa route and all of that.
Hmm.
Yeah, so I honestly feel that the only difference now is that we have social media, we have technology to help us amplify some of those movements or changes. Because I
Like
think
people
before
saying,
Nigeria
"Welcome to a new
happened, or
dispensation."
because there's the advent of Instagram, of Twitter, and how Nigerians tend to make, you know, find reasons to make for comic relief from everything. it's just kind of made us think that oh, it's something to be worried about. Which reminds me of one lady's tweet. I think it was a few weeks ago when she was talking about that Nigerians are coming here, blah blah blah. You people should calm down and all of that. And I think it was Molara Wood that took her on and said that what kind of territorialism is this? And he was trying to mention, even allude to the same point that I'm making, that maybe today, like people would always know that so shouldn't sound like we have monopoly or an entire country or some better life should
Mm-hmm.
be, exclusive to you alone and all of that. So yeah. And interestingly as well, for the book of I think 70% of the authors that actually wrote of this our country, they're not even in Nigeria anymore. And I also
Yeah,
feel that
actually, a lot of them are writing from the
being
diaspora.
in other countries, they're scattered around UK, Europe, the US. It affords you that what's the word? That very objective perspective and a she like is the word
It gives you
vantage
more of
point of view.
an outside,
Yeah,
an inside outsider view, sort of.
exactly. And so it helps you to appreciate as well as critique even the things that if you were that you take for granted if you were merely an insider. You get what I mean? So
Mm-hmm.
I honestly
Mm-hmm.
feel that again, you people would always come to that place where they will seek a better life. But there was anything that
Yeah,
resonates
of course, of course.
across all the essays is how many of them expressed hope and their earnest wish to actually return someday. And like Umar said, it's like the place everybody aspires to live in, but it would always be home. And these guys genuinely love the country. I I think it would not make any sense for us to talk about this book and not allude to Ayobami Adebayo's story essay. So ours is like the first one, and I've never seen anyone capture the essence of a similar experience of
Yeah.
the
Well, for me,
country
I was never going to leave
NYSC
this
program.
episode without talking about it. Really,
Yeah,
I was never
yeah.
going to leave this
So
episode without talking about our essay. It
yeah,
was
I
almost
think that
like I
was
was saving the
really
best for the
moving
last.
and quite
Yeah, that
compelling
was my
to
best of. That was my best of the lot.
the entries, right?
Yes, actually. So, what did you like about that entry? What stood out for you?
Was just how it hits close to home, and it almost seemed like a narration is the story of almost every single Nigerian youth, that
Hmm.
is
Everyone
anybody
that
that
grew up in Nigeria, that went
Nigeria
through
went to a Nigerian
Nigeria's
university.
educational system.
Yes, I love
Exactly.
how the story started from you know the university experience and the strikes. Of course, as strike is still not a thing of the past yet.
No, I think it started.
And
She
I guess
actually
the
even
reason why I
started
could,
from like a primary school, and them
yeah,
reciting the national anthem, and
yes,
for
yes,
many
yes,
years how they well, I hope
compassion.
you're hearing one of those that murdered the national anthem. Then
Arise, O compassion.
I hope you
And
weren't
then
one
she
of those that
realized
said
I was
arise with
actually
compassion.
compatriot. Yeah, because
Yeah,
really,
and not
that's
instead of saying
literally what I
compatriots.
grew up thinking too as well. I guess I got to secondary school before I realized that it was actually realized the clear wordings of the
I
national
always
anthem.
sang the
And
right one.
well,
Right from birth, I
kudos
always
or
sang the right national anthem.
shout out to all those exercise books that had the wordings written at the back of them right
Mm-hmm.
back then.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, I could paint this picture and the imagery in my mind as I went through that particular entry. And the reason why I kind of like connected to it was also maybe because we went to the same university too. So this is me fangirling and fancying Ayobami Adebayo. Yay! Ayobami Adebayo is a great
Yeah, and I
example.
think
Yeah. talked about DSA,
well,
you know
well,
that crazy stuff that happens
yeah.
when you have to go to DSA to check
Return to
your
wait
place
to
of
get your NYSC call up
place
or posting.
call up letter and everything. Yeah, I,
I remember
I'm
doing that actually. So yeah.
yes, yes.
I
Interestingly, she's one of those few Nigerian, not even few, that actually wanted to go through the NYSC program without,
Yeah, I'm
um,
I'm also one of those,
bypassing our way.
Shout out to people
I
like
don't
people
know.
like us.
Hello. Honestly, I'm unashamed about what I did, but yeah, I literally sent it to my alma mater, which is very, very interesting. I did not move an inch, but it was quite, an imagery or a take on what the NYSC camp was like in Plateau,
Mm-hmm.
was just really disturbing as well. And waking up early in the morning to go take a shower, and how she literally,
Yeah.
fell
Uh,
when the soldiers were coming to chase them
soldiers were
and
chasing.
fled. Yeah, it's quite something. And when you, it's almost as if we've come to this place where we even are so blissful in spite of what we go through as a people. It's such an anomaly. If
Mm-hmm.
you narrate or if
Yeah, it is an
an
anomaly.
average
Actually, it is an anomaly.
non-Nigerian should read something like that, or a white person, like they would literally like, what the hell? Like, how did
Would
you get
like
away
literally
that?
cringe at the thought of it.
Exactly. But then it's almost like a rite of passage for many of us. And so half the time, what I think some of these experiences have built in us is this tenacity that I think is even dysfunctional. Because honestly, I think about it sometimes and I'm like, yeah, I'm glad that I'm tenacious. It's exciting to know that anything. Not that if I could have survived in Lagos or spent the bulk of my life in Nigeria, there's nothing like can show at me and all of that. Hey, you just realize that that particular perspective comes along with a lot of trauma. And when you're in a place
Yeah,
like
yeah, I agree with
here where
you.
things work, you will find yourself getting triggered on so many levels, and you're like, now,
Mm-hmm.
what I thought was building me up or was helping me have virtue is not the best of,
Was actually, yeah,
approach
it's not the best
and
of
all of
ways to
that.
build one up. One thing about Ayobami's essay, right, is how every bit of it hit very close to home. So, starting out with the conversation around, wrongly reciting the national anthem,
Mm,
how you say the pledge, putting your hands on your
art,
chest, and
yeah.
then uh, the journey through time into university, the overcrowded lecture theaters, science
Theaters,
students having to leave, sometimes even sleep in the lecture theaters. So shout out to
overnight,
CHM
yeah.
101 and how many of
I
us had
just
to
said,
go stay overnight in Ajose and things like that.
yeah.
And the reality that we really went through a very, very hard time in the name of, oh, this is how this is how to toughen up. This is how to become strong and prepare for what
It's
we
hard
called in
work.
quotes the outside world, right? And then now
See, that
painting
even
that
reminds
picture
me.
of
I
our
remember doing my
NYC.
master's program. Sorry, I had to cut in you. This really brought back
Yeah.
memories. Like during my NYSC, what am I saying? During my master's program, beg your pardon. So I moved into my apartment, the flat I was staying in, and it had carpet. Okay, carpet here are what we call rugs back in Nigeria, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then
Mm-hmm.
I think like by the weekend I wanted to sweep, and guess what? There was over that you could literally use to, over the rug and clean things up. It's just
Oh,
one
okay.
very amazing
Yeah.
machine that sucks up all the dirt for you and all of that. At
Mm-hmm.
that first weekend when I took the Uber and was trying to sweep the carpet, I just had this very interesting moment and imagined being transported back to OAU, for example, the school where I had my first degree. And imagine if this was if Morinio, for example, they would never have thought of the need to provide such a machine or a tool to help you sweep because they will say, oh, yes, you should use broom. It's part of how you build hard work and how
Of course,
you, and
it's
I'm
part
like,
of you
does everything have to be
growing.
so hard? Like, it just makes me beg the question, like, honestly, this supposed approach of hers as just, it's not ideal. It's done more harm than good, to be honest. And I honestly wish that, you know, things could get better and, you know, a lot of these things do not even exist in the first place. It's a right there, and then when I grabbed that one,
Yeah,
I almost
actually.
felt like as if I was doing something wrong. That I was supposed to be using, bending my back
You
and,
literally felt
because
guilty,
I've been used to the
like
hard
why?
life. And I'm like, this is how it's meant to be under normal circumstance. So again, Shay, I'm enjoying your take on Ayobami's story, and please go ahead on what you were
Yeah,
saying.
I think three things that still very much resonates, apart from the journeys hitting very close to home, are some of the other experiences, like a recount of the June 12th situation. I can
Mm,
almost picture myself in that same scenario she narrated. I remember
mm,
there was a time during those riots where I was in primary school, and
mm,
I was in the vehicle when there was riots, and my dad had to put leaves on his windshield
mm,
to go through. I remember very clearly that he even asked the driver to put his suitcase inside the boot rather than inside the vehicle because there were fears that, oh, as we went through that protesting crowd, there's a chance that maybe there are robbers amidst the crowd.
theft,
And then just remembering all of those things and realizing that what Nigeria is to us has been a series of very very peculiar experiences, going through, you
mm,
know, learning and being indoctrinated into this idea of citizenship by rote memories or rote recitations of the anthem of the pledge. And
mm,
then when I read it, I asked myself, what really did the pledge mean to us when we said, I pledge to Nigeria, my country, to be faithful, loyal, and honest,
it's a
for
bloody
instance.
lie.
And and when we would say to serve Nigeria with all my strength, I know at some point, maybe in secondary school, we'll joke around and say to serve Nigeria is not by force. But yeah, we would say, oh, to serve Nigeria with all my strength. And I think the final take on Ayabami's piece is where she then spoke about her father, living through about three different anthems where the first used to sing God Save the Queen, and then the anthem changed to Nigeria Will Hail Thee before getting to Arise, or Compatriots. And I'm thinking about how that even then resonates for British, for instance. The Queen has passed, and now they have to stop singing God Save the Queen and God now sing God Save the King. For people that have there's a whole generation of people that lived through the Queen's lifetime, have been
Mm-hmm.
born there, and that's the only anthem they've ever known to sing, and all of that begins to change owing to our demise. So, um, it was a very profound piece for me because it captured so many things. It captured the reality of so many things that just living through life, you really would not take time to reflect on or to touch on. But that was a very very good one for me.
Yeah,
So I was going to ask you. So which other of these essays really hit home for you?
um, I think the other I have quite a long list. that I mind you guys, every single essay in this book is worth reading. I believe every of the authors did an amazing
I
job,
have
and
biases
so
though. I feel not every single one. Some of them were a bit draggy, but because I'm a
oh
lazy
well,
reader sometimes.
you I honestly feel that what makes this a beautiful one collection is how we all see life from different perspectives and they all view Nigeria from different
Mm-hmm.
angles. And I was just wondering, was it
Mm-hmm.
like the editors told them that okay, so this is what part of growing up in Nigeria or this aspect of Nigeria, the elements that I want you to chip into your own entry and all of that. There were some that I just didn't. You're right. There were also some that I didn't understand what it was about. But I feel that when you come across these portraits of Nigerian parties,
Elephants and giraffes. Oh yeah.
yes, is so good. Like if you're looking for something light-hearted to read, away from all the abysmal things that are happening in Nigeria, or just the soft side or easy enjoyment side of Nigerianness, then you should totally read our essay because it
Yeah,
captured
that
it
was a
in
very good
all
one
its
too.
essence. Um, I think there were some statements, or sorry, there were some phrases that she used that really stood out for me. I called it a portrait of the Nigeria Bedu and love for enjoyment, from concerts to weddings to how we love to flaunt our happiness in the faces of people. And shout out to Instagram for even help and Twitter to help for helping people do that. And how Nigerians are so full of theatrics, like we are very dramatic and animated people. And then she mentioned how enjoyment also seemed like a self-serving exercise for a lot of us. And attending a party in most
Yeah,
Nigerian
actually.
parties is like a terrain, um, an opportunity to display your ego and sometimes rivalry too.
Mm-hmm.
She even talked
Mm-hmm.
about what's it called now? The wedding party. This Shola
Oh yeah, yeah.
Shupawale's.
She referenced.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that was
referenced.
so good. Like the way she painted the picture of how you
Just
unexpectedly
because her
anyway
name wasn't
that
mentioned on the list of they
yeah,
didn't
and
announce
that's
her name,
literally
and
what
then she
happened in the
decided
real
to
sense of it. Like
create drama.
she talked about how she wasn't even shocked that that is one of the highest grossing movies in Nigeria because I mean it was about party. It was because it was letting it typifies what an average Nigerian is like. Um, I kind of felt and yet Isong's disdain for some part of our culture
Oh god,
in
rites
Rite
of
of
passage
Passage. Yeah.
about
He,
the
he
burial
questions so
culture.
many things about our traditions as the people, especially the Igbo tradition. He mentioned why, you know, why the rites of burial are not written down and our elders in quotes sort of like take pride in oral passage of
Yeah, passing it on
culture
orally.
and
Yeah,
all of that. He begged the
I
question,
think
right?
for that, yeah, for that essay, there was one thing that I took down from all that she had said. You know, there was a part where she said, and I will read. She says, "A man I didn't recognize came to tell me I'd made him proud by
Hmm.
giving my father a worthy burial, and that his soul will rest in eternal peace." And she says, as the man walked away, I began to wonder if he would have said the same thing had he not eaten to his satisfaction.
Hmm. Hmm. Honestly, that is like so true, totally true. If there was anything I took away from the story or his entry, it was how I wonder why we don't actually document some of these things, like write it down. We say like a book as such that really goes into details, sort of like an SOP. and you don't have to depend on some elder that has lived many years and all of that. And then when you question and ask these people about some of these things, they are quick to mention, that's how our forefathers have been doing it. In this age and time, in our generation, we stand the threats of this culture, especially the good part of elements of them going into extinction, if we don't find better ways to document them and actually pass them on. Because ain't nobody got time to, go and be missing one elder somewhere before you know what to do and all that. And it even begins to beg the question that do these things really matter? Like, do we have to go through all of this hassle just because you want to bury someone? But
Yeah,
I personally feel that
well,
there are
talking
actually some of
about
those
that,
things that are beautiful.
yeah, because looking at watching the burial of the queen, for instance, one thing that
Yeah.
I came back with is how many of
Yes,
these
we,
nations have preserved their cultures, regardless of
yes,
how times have changed. They still went through with what they call funeral rites. And so,
yes,
one thing that I also appreciate our own funeral rites for is that there's certain things that are very peculiar to us, and I believe
as
that
a people, yeah,
as as a people, we owe those cultures a need to have them preserved. Not because sometimes we get lost in times to believe that so many things are barbaric, so many things are archaic. But trust me, the British, the Chinese, the Japanese, these guys have strong references to their culture and they never
yeah.
lose touch of it. So
And
I
that is
think yes,
because they
there are some
take
of these
a lot
things.
of effort to document and preserve them. And I think the emphasis should be on actually preserving these things. The reason why a lot of people are quick to want to just, forget about this rite of passage is not because they don't love them, but because of the whole charade surrounding the entire process. How about if there's a book or watching the Queen's funeral, you could almost tell. In fact, I heard that there were rehearsals, there were some of these people that, or some of the soldiers that have been training for this entire thing for like years ago because they knew whether you like it or not, the king was going to die at one point or the other. Like, and so that we all
Mhm.
could see that reflect in the excellence and the pristine manner with which the ceremony held, right? But
Yeah,
we
yeah,
would
so
never
even
do
talking
that.
about
I
the
would
fact
feel.
that
In fact,
soldiers
the elder was
were,
saying, the elder was even talking about how he
yeah,
feels
even
that yes, so he's taking pride in the fact that we is the way our forefathers have been doing it. Please let us have an SOP for some of these cultures and way of
Eh,
doing things. Please.
the question then is who would document it, where would it be documented, how would it be retrieved when it's documented? Because I think that, so in defense of, or oral passage, one thing that I think is clear, is helpful, again, realizing that these things are, because Nigeria is more of diverse cultures, right? So,
Mm-hmm.
cultural activities in different ethnicities, for instance, they sort of vary. So,
Yeah.
even if it's documented, and then there's also things that then happen with intertribal marriages, ethnic marriages, and things like that. So there are chances that some things are lost in one another, some things are mixed into one another, and
Yeah.
all. So that's why I think it's typically very difficult to have uh, culture cast in stone. I,
It's
I
always
believe
difficult
that
until it's
culture
done
is,
until it's done, Shay.
well,
So
I
how
think that
about if
culture
we take
sometimes,
time?
culture
These
is
are ideas for content creators or people who do YouTube. How about you go right ahead, interview your great grandmother or somebody, and have them actually narrate from their own perspective how things are done, perhaps how the
but do you
wedding
agree that
or traditional marriage.
culture is first caught before it's taught?
Yes, I do. But
Okay.
we should not allow the fact that times are changing very, very fast to be lost on us as a people. And I guess when using the word or preserve or document is making it come across as something really big or grand. But
Sounding
really,
like a lot of work,
the
actually.
people. You said what? What did
I
you
said it
say?
sounded like a lot of work.
But it's basic. People make cultures. If you get what I mean, like human beings are the ones that actually make things be the way they are the ones that literally dictate how things are done and how when you say, oh, Bashiman Shenle Walile, so who are the people that used to do it that way? So what you're literally trying to do is show how that thing is done. And it can involve just carrying a camera, upload it on YouTube, let it be online and everybody can see it.
You
I see
said,
some I've
Jekashib,
stumbled on a few
Bush,
channels that try to open up, in the international community to our wedding culture and how we have the grandiose of the entire process and like a crash course for somebody who has never attended a Nigerian wedding before. It's because we also do not see any big deal in some of these things. That's why we don't invest so much into it. But guess what? The world, the
don't
universe
worry.
is so big.
We can send the memo to Lai Mohammed. After all, he's the Minister of Information and Culture.
Let's stop bullshit. Moving on swiftly. Okay, so another war
Yes.
story that I think is worth mentioning is I loved finding out that Lola Shunei was a one-time member of a band of six and how she
Oh
was
yeah.
quite all about living her best life and used to sneak out of uni to
I
perform
think
at jazz
everyone
bands and
was once young and
everything.
free. You know,
Yeah. So I love
everyone was
how
once young and free.
mhm.
Some maybe added wild to that. So there was young, wild, and free. But for some others, it was just young and free. So it depends on. I think I should even ask you, what was
Mm.
yours? Were you young, wild, and free, or you're just young and free,
Uh,
or you're young and not free?
we all were young, wild, and free. Because I mean, you need to have stories to tell your children and born now. So you need to live.
Yes.
Um, Chika Unigwe's essay is so good. I've always loved the Igbo culture,
Mm-hmm.
and I love how she captured
Mm-hmm.
it in its true essence. The part that actually stood out for me, one of the parts that stood out for me because there were so many, was talking about Hamo, what we call Amo in Yoruba. Do you know what Amo is, Shay? It's
Oh
this
yeah, I know it.
clay pots that we take water from,
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
she
Mm-hmm.
compared it with how
You know,
chilled the
I used to
water
mold when I was
is,
growing up, so
even with.
I created a couple of clay
Ah,
pots.
oh, lovely.
Yeah.
Shall she artist of life, creative. So, like, it's shout out to how inventive Nigerians are in terms of how the way we always try to make something out of literally nothing. Imagine getting chilled water from a clay pot that is almost as cold as water that you get from a refrigerator. So, I mean, when colonialists come around and tell us that they want to show us better way of doing things, I just roll my eyes and I'm like, we've always had our homegrown
And sell the
solutions
idea
that
of a
is
refrigerator
done
to you guys.
in here and
And you
say
all went
they're all
and broke your clay
civilized.
pots.
Duh, civilized core. Anyways, Abubakar
And
Adam
you all went to break your
Ibrahim's
clay pots because they sold.
because Abubakar Adam Ibrahim's story and essay was just so poetic. I love the flow. It's I love his ode to Nigeria and the despondence and how much you could feel the pain and the anguish in every single line. God, I mean, it was
Yeah.
depressing. In fact, I couldn't wait to finish it because, like, your tears staring right at you in the face, and the way he used
Mm-hmm.
his words to actually capture those things just make you instantly sad.
Mm-hmm.
I want to issue a disclaimer and say, oh, if you're in a bad place, or if you're trying to stay positive through a day like this, avoid the story. But please try and read it later because it will trigger something in you, perhaps helps you rethink and um, kind of like promotes active citizenry. I just say so because it's
Yeah,
I think it
actually.
is one thing that has always been missing in us as a nation. Our forefathers, our parents have always been pretty very passive, and if there's anything that
Yeah,
makes
I think
some
many of
people
them have
go
had traumas from the military
past
rule and all
experiences
of
that have
what
just made
the
them more
heavy-handedness
books.
of the military. Yes, when you read books like Everything Good Will Come, for instance, I think you would sort of see some references to those times.
Yeah.
Um, but for
Okay,
me,
if you
Chimamanda's piece is something I'll never run away from. Where she wrote about still becoming, and it's a piece that I love so much because she talks about Lagos and how there are two things she said. She talks about everybody complains about Lagos, but nobody wants to leave. And then she painted a
hmm,
picture of a they painted a very vivid picture. Says a
oh
yellow
boy,
downfall bus has hit another, and both
uh,
conductors have
that
leapt out
was
for a swift fight.
that is so good.
What's Lagos without a yellow bus? What's Lagos without downfall? And I wrote something out where she talked about the level of enterprise that exists in Lagos. How I'll just read it. It says, if Lagos has a
Everybody is
theme,
their
it
own
is
brand.
the hustle,
I want to
the
be a brand.
striving and trying. The working class does the impossible to scrape a living. The middle
Mm,
class has a side hustle. The banker sews clothes. The telecommunications analyst sells nappies. The school teacher organizes private home lessons. Commerce
mm,
rules. Enterprising people scroll their advertisement on public walls in chalk. Call for affordable generator. I am buying
mm,
condemned inverter. Need a washerman.
mm, mm.
So
So good.
you remember when you walk through some streets, even in Lagos, and you see where they paste all these papers. They just write vacancy, vacancy,
This
vacancy.
house is not for
They
sale.
write the role sales girl 20,000.
Mm,
And yeah, so
yeah, good.
I really like that. I grew up in Lagos, and I really did enjoy living in Lagos. To be very honest, Lagos is a very big part of me, and I grew up on the streets of Lagos. So,
Okay, Lagos boy.
anyways,
Like
I
another
think
thing about this
for anyone,
collection, yeah, is how they would
yeah,
bits and pieces of different parts of Nigeria. I love how I learned new stuff
yes,
about growing
exactly,
up in
exactly,
Jos, in the north, in the eastern part
exactly.
of the
The
country.
communal
It
living
came
in some
this,
places in the north,
yeah,
the
okay,
market
Grace
days
essay
in
is
the
also
eastern part
one
of the
that stands
country.
out as well for me.
Mm-hmm.
Jay,
Mm-hmm.
long story short, you read everyone needs to read of this our country. It's definitely worth every
I
single
absolutely
one
recommend
trying
it
to read. She
for
you read the
every
book. I
Nigerian.
did the audiobook. I read it on I listened to it on Audible. It was exactly 10 hours and 10 hours well spent for me. And because of our time, we could go on and keep talking about this very, very important
Yep.
book. But would love to end it here and allow you fill in the gap yourself and decide what particular essay did it for you. And if you've read of this our country, please let us know your thoughts on social media. Let's engage. Please let's know what your take is concerning some of the entries. Do you agree with the take? Do you disagree? Do you think there should even be a better body of work that actually um,
Or do you want to even
that you
write what
think would do
Nigeria
more
means to you
justice?
as well?
Yeah, and let us know what Nigeria actually means to you. Um, on that note, I would really want to end this particular episode wishing for better days ahead. Like the essayist in this collection rightly said, hope is one thing that Nigerians will never stop having. And I am one die-hard hopeful in the Nigerian dream. I hope you also keep the hope alive from your own end. And beyond just being hopeful, you actively participate when the need arises to, make the country a better place to live in. Shay, what are your final words?
I think my final words is more of a question. What does Nigeria mean to you? What does
Um,
the fatherland or the motherland, like people would like to refer to Nigeria, mean to you?
yeah.
And you can just think of it. And if you're able to write a few thoughts, scribble something in your notepad, on notes on your phone, and just think about it again. What really does it mean when someone calls me a Nigerian? Even if you have other passports and you have dual citizenships, there's still something that ties you to this geographical location. What does it really mean to you?
Yeah. Interesting take, Shay. Thank you so much for ending this episode on a rather reflective note. We'll catch you guys on the next episode, and we do appreciate you listening. And I hope you have a wonderful, wonderful Independence Day celebration. Catch you next
Yeah,
time,
thanks so
guys.
much, guys, and
Cheers.
thank you for listening and have a good one.